Hey, everybody, welcome to the Freedom Nation podcast. It's Jeff here once again with another episode of the Freedom Nation podcast. On today, I've got Evan Poling. He is, we have some really shared territory as far as the type of businesses we work in. We're going to talk a little bit about exit planning today and selling of businesses. So for those of you in the audience that are, getting closer to that side of things, this will be a very useful conversation for you. For those of you that are a little bit earlier on in the journey, it's good to know this stuff because you need to start thinking about that exit and that end. So stay tuned. We'll be right back on with you.
All in you. Everything you're looking for, it's all in you. You gotta believe that it's all in you. Everything you're searching for, it's all in.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Evan, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Jeff. Thank you for having me on. How are you doing?
I am fantastic. It's a nice, balmy 100 and some odd degrees here in Texas today. So it is summer. We finally caught up to it. How about yourself?
Yeah, I live in Phoenix, so a little bit hotter
Oh,
here. We have you
okay.
beat on that front, but
Oh yeah. My other show, The Sense of Things, my partner on that show, co-host, is in Phoenix too. So yeah, we constantly have this conversation about, oh, but it's cool in the morning, and I'm like, yes, but it's hot enough to melt your face off in the afternoons.
that's indeed true. Very true.
Yeah. Actually, that was my favorite thing that Gary Shandling ever said, because he was originally from Phoenix, and he's like, yes, but it's dry heat. And he's like, yes, but it's, or he's, yeah, it's just dry heat. And he goes, yeah, but so's a blowtorch, but I don't want to put my face in that either. So,
Yeah, it's like sticking your head in an oven, pretty much.
yeah, exactly. For 3 or 4 months of the year. So, well, cool. Well, let's get started with your story. So tell us a little bit about how you got to where you're at today.
Yeah, I mean, we always kind of take it back really far. My father was a business owner, and he had multiple businesses.
Okay.
I just saw him kind of have some success and then fail. Then he would start up something else, have some success, and then fail. And as a kid, I was very intrigued with business, helped him out with some of the business side of things. And so,
Yeah.
fast forward, got my degree in accounting, financial economics, started doing a lot of different contract roles. So learned a lot of different industries, and then eventually ended up in bank compliance with
Okay.
AML, which stands for anti-money laundering, and did a
Super
lot of,
exciting.
yeah, I mean, there are some cool stories. You see some
Oh,
pretty gnarly stuff, but within that, I was able to really open up the personal finances of business account holders. I was able to see
yeah.
where their money was coming from, where it was going to, and I really started understanding industries so at a different level, because my job
Mm,
was to understand if the money was legitimate and the
yeah.
activity was legitimate, or if it was suspicious, if there was some criminal activities going on. And so understanding supplier relationships, customer relationships, what do they have a storefront, doing geolocations and background checks. And so really analyzing business at a very high level. Then fast forward a little bit after that, kind of got sucked up into the social media hype that's really kind of going around for a few years now. Buy a business, zero money down. It's super easy. People are giving away businesses,
Mm,
kind of that narrative. And I'm like, I've looked at a lot of
I
businesses.
could
My dad
do
was a
this.
business guy. I could totally do this. So let's start looking for businesses. And I did that. And then in comes business brokers.
Mm,
So my experience with business brokers specifically was, you would reach out, they would reach out to you. A couple days later, you would sign an NDA. It would take 2 or 3 days later, you'd get like a packet. You'd ask some questions. Then a week later, you get some answers. The answers kind of suck. You got to ask more questions. So by the time you get a handful of questions answered, it's 3 or 4 weeks in the process. And
hmm
I'm thinking, what is going on? Like
Yeah.
I have money. I'm ready to buy a business. I'm serious about this. Let's get the show on the road. And really kind of start thinking about that. I was like, is this kind of a normal thing, and did some
Mhm.
research and found out business brokers really are integral part of the business buying experience.
Mhm.
And I asked myself, there has to be a better way to do this. And so that's kind of propelled me on my journey of starting my company called BizRetire.com.
I like it. I like it. Um, so it's interesting you see it from that perspective because, it's so funny when I talk to business broker friends of mine, it's like they don't really want to cultivate the buyer side for some weird reason. I just don't understand it. I think if I was sitting in that seat, I would be out there actively cultivating buyers because I mean, and I saw your statistic, which is absolutely true that you have on your website. 80% of businesses put up for sale and never sell. I mean,
Yep.
that's the scary reality of this. It is the scary reality of especially what I would consider the end of the baby boomer generation. The front edge has already been through this, but the backside of the baby boomer generation, they didn't really build businesses to sell. They were basically building a job, and nobody wants to
Yeah.
buy a job at that point. What are you seeing, as you started well, first off, tell us a little bit about BizRetire and what your concept is, first off.
Yeah, I had to ask myself, why is the industry doing things the way they're doing it? There has to
Mhm.
be some benefit to a business broker, right? Obviously, they wouldn't exist, and there has to be a benefit to these large online marketplaces. Otherwise, they wouldn't exist. And so, started doing some research, and I was actually listening to one of your podcasts previously. You guys talked about $100 million offers, and really kind
Yeah.
of analyzing the offer of a business broker and an online marketplace, and kind of saying that those offers are really not great offers for people who are looking to buy or sell a business.
Mm.
On the business broker side, what you have is you have what I coin it as the failure tax. And so if a business broker only sells 1 out of 5 businesses, the business
Hmm.
owner that sells the business has to pay the failure tax
Yes.
of the commission for the 4 other that they didn't sell. So they spend time
Hmm.
and energy listing those businesses. So there's listing fees. They spend time and energy, vetting buyers that are, potentially bad buyers. They're sending emails, educating owners that it will never sell. Maybe businesses go to the closing table and shut down. And so um, that offer is not really great. Like, hey, I'm going to sell your business, but you got to pay for all the failures of the other 4 businesses that I list. And so
Mm.
that offer is not a really great or attractive offer. If we were to have that offer in any other kind of setting, we would probably deny that offer. The
Yeah.
second is that, the smaller businesses typically face a larger commission than the
Mm.
bigger businesses. And it's tiered kind of like tax brackets. But the problem is, and you kind of alluded to this before the show, if your business only worth 200,000 and you're getting a 20% commission, you think about taxes, you think about advisory fees, you think about lawyers, you think about all this other stuff. Business owner might only be walking away with less than half of their business. And
Yeah.
to me, it didn't really sit right with me that after 40 years of building something, serving your community, that you walk away with less than half of what you built.
Hmm.
And a lot of those owners are kind of walking into this scenario thinking, well, I need every dollar of this to retire well. And so
Yeah.
they're kind of blindsided if they even sell their business at all. And so
Hmm.
that's the business broker side of things. And then on the marketplace, one of the largest marketplaces out there, I'm not going to say their name, but they have 250,000 free buyers.
Hmm.
And so if I go to list my business as a business on that marketplace, that sounds really great. There's 250,000 buyers, but the problem is
Yeah.
there's no barrier to entry. These buyers can
Mm.
literally contact me. And the problem is then you start getting buyers that were like me, thinking I can get a business with no money down. And next
Yep.
thing you know is the business is walking into this marketplace, receiving 100, 1,000 emails, and 95% of those buyers haven't even got
Are totally
financing.
unqualified. Yeah.
Yeah, unqualified buyers, right? And then on the other hand of things, 90% of those listings are listed by brokers. So who do you
Okay.
think that marketplace cares more about? The broker relationships of
Hmm.
the entities that have these large marketing budgets that are going to pay tens of thousands of dollars towards the website, or they're going to care about the
Hmm.
mom and pop that spends $70 a month maybe on the
Yeah.
listing? They don't care about business owners. And so both of these, and it sucks for the buyers too. If I'm a buyer,
Mhm.
I don't want to compete against 250,000 other people. I don't want to be
Yeah.
contacting owners that are fatigued and tired and just fed up with buyers, right? And so from the buyer perspective, from the seller perspective, both of these options really suck. And so
Hmm.
I created a BizRetire is kind of like if a good broker and a good listing place had a baby. And so
Yeah.
I try to think about like what is a good offer, right?
Hmm.
No commissions. If a business owner talks to me, right now I'm giving away free listings to business owners. And then I'm monetizing on the buyer side. So the
Okay.
buyers pay to contact the owners. And a
Hmm.
lot of owners or buyers are turned away by that. But what I would say to them is they're not really serious to begin with. If
Hmm.
they want to go on a large marketplace, compete with 250,000 buyers, spend 6 months to a year looking for a business, or know that if they go on BizRetire, they pay and they send a message to our owners, those owners are going to contact them almost
Yeah.
immediately. And they're going to have that one-on-one conversations with the owners.
Hmm.
So the owners know the buyers are serious, that they have skin in the game, and then the buyers know they don't have to compete and they can have that direct off market, on market deal flow. And so
Nice.
it really is a win-win for everyone involved. And so
Hmm.
that's really what BizRetire is, and that's kind of my analytics of the marketplace and what I'm trying to do
No, I
disrupt.
think, and it's a brilliant take on it. I mean, it is, it is literally if a good business broker and a marketplace had a good or had a baby, it's the one that it should be. I mean, it sounds very good. How are you finding your business owners and your buyers?
That's the $1 million question. Finding the
Uh,
business owners is tough because they're working 68 hours a week. They're kind of living under this assumption that, hey, I'm going to just put my business on the marketplace. It makes good money, and I'm just going to sell it. It's
yeah.
just going to. I mean, I'm making good money. Someone else will want to make good money, so it's sellable. And so they really don't. They're not problem aware, and so finding them is only half the battle. The other half
Mhm.
is they have to be aware that there's a problem, or they're not going to
Yeah.
pursue any option.
Yeah.
And so that has been the bottleneck. The buyers are a cinch.
Mm.
I get a listing, I put it on, I put it on social media, and then I get
Mm.
50 buyer signups just
Yeah.
from that listing. So I don't
Sure.
really ever advertise to buyers ever, and so
Mm.
um, and then I want to dial back a little bit. So my model is connecting. It's connecting. So BizRetire is a
Mhm.
connecting point. I connect
Yep.
owners and buyers directly together, but then I'm connecting both of those to advisors.
Okay.
And so my take is on if you're an owner and you're not paying a commission, you might as well hire like a exit planner or an accountant or a lawyer, spend a
Mhm.
small fraction of the piece you would have spent on a commission to hire an expert. And so
Mhm.
I've been building out referral partners where I send
Nice.
owners to referral partners to work with them so that their business is more sellable.
Mm.
And then same thing on the buyer side, buyer coaches, people who bought businesses, course people who sell courses for buyers, that kind of thing. Because I also think that if they want to be competitive and be successful post sale, they also need to invest in themselves and in the
Sure.
process. And so, BizRetire is kind of a triangle. It's not just buyers and sellers.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So what's your monetization strategy then? So is it just strictly the signups for the buyer side then?
Yeah, right now, because the sellers are the bottleneck. I think that's the hard
Sure.
that's a hard audience to get. There's a million advisors, there's a million buyers, there's not as many sellers, and you can't
Mhm.
recreate or reproduce sellers as easily. And so, it really is about obtaining the sellers, and then I'm monetizing either on the buyer side or on the advisor side. So there'll be like referral fee structure for that.
Okay. Makes sense. Um, I mean, I see this, honestly, I've worked with, business brokers for years. And usually the position I've been in with a lot of my business broker friends is, I heard them tell me the statistic before, if let's say they have 10 swings at bat of potential clients that they get, um, only two are really ready for a sale. And the
Yeah.
eight, the other eight aren't there yet. Five of them are possibly salvageable. Two of those are just a mess, and there's no way in hell that they're going to make it. And, one of them is basically just going out of business at that point. There's no way that they could ever be salvaged. Um, how do you kind of handle that? I mean, because so many people come in with the pretty baby. You know, my baby is the most beautiful baby in the world, and everybody else that looks at him is like, oh my god, that's the ugliest baby I've ever seen. So how do you handle
Yeah.
that type of situation?
I really don't handle it.
Okay.
And I'm not really trying to fix these businesses. I'm just trying to get
Sure.
them on the marketplace.
Yeah.
And what I think is that if they're listed and they don't get any contact, there comes a point when they have to either, hey Evan, you have an advisor referral program. Like, I don't know what the heck's going on. Like, what's going on with my
Mm,
business? Why is no one reaching out? Okay, let me refer you to
yeah.
someone who can help you with that. Let me give you the
Good.
real expert.
Yeah.
Or the buyer is like, they contact them, hey, yeah, your baby's ugly and
Yeah.
needs some facial surgery. It's pretty bad.
Mm,
Um, and so then the market beats them up, and
yeah.
unfortunately, that's kind of the strategy that business brokers
Yeah.
employ. Anyways, they
Yeah.
put them on the market and kind of let the market beat them up.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just the difference
and I
is they'll charge them $20,000 to list the business. You're not charging them 20 grand to list their business at that point.
Yeah, and I think there is too. I think there's work that needs to be on the buyer side, because I think for a
Yeah.
lot of buyers, they need to go buy a business that's a job. We
Yeah.
kind of poo-poo on these businesses that are jobs, and of course, we all want a cash flowing business where we're not working, we're sitting on
Sure.
some beach front, sipping margaritas, enjoying life. But the reality is that some of these businesses are in small towns that
Yeah.
communities really rely on, and these some of these businesses are getting bought up by private equity, and some of these communities are really losing their soul. And there's
Mm,
buyers out there that maybe they're not able to run a $2-3 million business, but maybe they're hardworking. They've been in the industry long enough. They're smart enough. They can get enough financing together to, maybe even a small down payment, and work the job, build the
hmm.
business into something that's valuable, and then buy another business that they want. And so I'm really hoping, so, we're really targeting businesses that are $2 million and under, because
Okay.
another one of the problems with the way that we buy and sell businesses is 91% of businesses in the United States fall under $1 million in revenue. But
Yeah.
the problem is that 95% of the advisors, 95% of the buyers are looking for businesses above that.
Hmm.
And so there's a huge discrepancy here where it's like the reality is this thing, but expectation is this thing. And so I don't know if there needs to be more education or more people that are buying these boring businesses and conglomerating them, or these jobs. I don't know, but I feel like
Hmm.
there's a real opportunity moving forward to buy these jobs, make them something good or
Well,
repeatable, or turn
that's
them
the
into
key. It's like, okay,
branches.
you're not necessarily, I don't think there's anything wrong with buying a job.
Right.
Somebody else has just not had the vision. They can't take it to that next level. It's okay to come in and buy the job and then flip it around. I mean, honestly, you're going to get a much less value, or you're going to get a business that has less value for you to buy, and then you improve it and make lots more money on it. And, you could flip that business later on, at some
Yeah.
point too, or, okay, you get it to the point where you have a team running it and everything else.
Well, and there's less risk. We
Yeah.
don't really talk about the dark side of things. People taking out an SBA loan and they buy it off more they can chew, and then
Yep.
the business goes belly up and they lose their house, they lose, their marriage, they lose, all this stuff that's really important. And so, yeah, I really think that these smaller businesses is the wave of the future.
Hmm.
And I think for a lot of these buyers that kind of been lulled into this fake vision of what it looks like. And, and I kind of harped on, seller financing, but for some of these businesses that are job, there might be a huge potential for a large chunk of those businesses to go up for seller financing, especially if
Yeah.
they are a job.
Absolutely. No, I mean in most cases when I work with a client and they're selling a business, I mean, owner financing is a way to do it. I mean, when I sold my business, I sold it, I took the owner financing back to my partner who is paying me off over time, and it worked out perfectly. One, I knew him, I knew the business, so I knew what the cash flow was, and it was not as a risky thing for me. Yeah, would I have liked to add all the money up front? Of course. But the reality is most businesses don't have the kind of cash flow or internal assets to be able to do that. And most buyers don't have the juice to just come in and pay cash for a business, nor do they want to a lot of times.
Right.
Especially if they're on a major acquisition phase, they don't want to put all their money into one business because they want to be able to buy multiple businesses at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And so, I mean, that's the problem I'm trying to solve. I feel like,
Yeah.
my heart kind of aches. I've talked to widows where, the
Mm-hmm.
husband dies, and I'm sure you've had this experience too,
Yeah.
and it's just like there was no plan. And
Mm-hmm.
then she's got to sell the house because they got bills to pay. The crew that was running the business decided to charge her double because they knew that she needed them.
Yeah.
Scumbags.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's just like it's sad. These is real consequences. And a broker locking in a business owner and then kind of like putting them up to bat and kind of hoping that their future, it's just kind of sleazy, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
At least with us, where it's like, hey, you're going to list it on there, and there's no guarantee you may or may not sell it, but we have
Yep.
advisors if you ever
Yeah.
choose
Well,
to
I
do
mean,
that.
if
And
you
so,
realize, okay, I'm getting these really low offers on my business, maybe there's a problem. It maybe you need to step back for a second, retool a little bit, and then come back at it from that
yeah,
point. And I totally agree. I mean, I think it makes complete sense, and I think there has been a need for quite a long time for what you're doing. So I applaud you on doing this, because there is a massive hole in that below $2 million space.
yeah,
Most cases, most business brokers don't even want to touch them. Um, you might find an attorney. Well, you'll find attorneys that'll negotiate the deal, but somebody that's actively out there looking to connect you with buyers, eh, they're just not. It's just not out there at that point. So,
right, yeah.
love
And I
it.
find, even though I'm at that 2.5 million threshold, or that
Yep.
revenue, I'm actually finding businesses that are above that, or that are
Yeah.
even interested in this model, which was a surprise to me.
Well, I think in a lot of cases they're looking at, well, okay, this business broker is going to charge me a fortune, um, to do this, and a lot of people just don't want to pay a huge commission to anybody in those cases. They just want to be connected with a potential buyer or a couple potential buyers, and set up a bidding war and see who's willing to pay the most for the business and all that. And I think if you are a reasonably decent negotiator and you've got a good attorney that can work with you to help negotiate the deal and everything else, because it's going to get to that point where the attorneys are going to step in, even with a business broker, and they're the ones that are going to be finalizing the deal and negotiating and everything else. Makes complete sense in those cases. So
Right,
love it.
right. Yep.
Well, cool. Anything new in your world that you're getting ready to launch or you want to share with us?
Just, I'm a startup founder, so just always
Yep.
trying to find that lead flow. That's man, that's the grind. I'm doing camera stuff. I'm doing,
Yeah.
website editing. I'm doing quality control testing on the website,
Yeah.
complaints, and I'm doing Facebook ads, and all this. So just learning a lot of stuff that I never thought as like a logic brain person, right?
Yeah.
AML guy. So it's been a wild ride. So there's always always something new going on. I feel like
Yeah.
so. But
Welcome to the world of being a founder. I always say CEO, chief everything officer, a lot of times at the beginning. So.
that's a good one. I'll have to remember that. Chief
Yeah.
Everything Officer. Love it.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the fast five questions. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So let's start off. You wake up in the morning, business is gone. You have $500 in your pocket, a laptop, computer, a place to live, food and clothing. What are you going to do first?
I'm gonna log on to Facebook Marketplace and find some stuff that I can buy and resell.
I love
So
it.
Whether it's a $10 dresser I can, sand down and paint and sell for 200, or furniture or something. I'm gonna make some money.
Make some quick money and move on from there. Perfect.
Yep.
Second thing, what's your biggest business mistake that you've ever made?
Oh, so far it's been there's a thing called iron triangle. There's speed, quality, and price, and you can
Yeah.
only have two of the three. I chose price and quality, and it
Uh,
took me 6 to 7 months to launch my website, and that put me six
yeah.
to seven months behind. Um, so I should have just paid the extra, um, you know, $3,000 or $4,000 and gotten it in a couple weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think there's some good to doing that though, of kind of learning the process, because there's a lot of shysters out there. And speaking from someone that owns an SEO agency, it is, there's a lot of shysters out there, just absolute
Yeah.
horrible people out there that, they're just taking your money, and they don't deliver results and stuff. So sometimes learning it, yeah, it takes a little longer sometimes, but it's worth it. And now all the parts that are there, and you can have better conversations with people. So don't
Oh,
discount
absolutely.
that.
Yeah. I mean, there's a
All right.
learning cost, and it's valuable.
Oh yeah. What's a book that you'd recommend for our audience?
I'm a religious guy. I believe the Bible. I think if you're
Hmm?
if you're not right, spiritually, physically, emotionally, you're going to chase after the wrong things. For me,
Yep.
my business is not about profit; it's about impact. And I think if you have positive impact in the world, profits will follow that. And so,
Hmm.
people who just seek profit for profit's sake will end either in a very sad, depressed state, or in jail for fraud.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. What's a tool that you use in your business that you might recommend?
That's a good question. I'm a startup founder, so everything is unautomated, messy. There's no really good procedures. I haven't really cracked the code yet, so there's no specific tool. But I've been using video editing software a lot, so for
Okay.
shorts and videos and stuff. So Premiere Pro.
Premiere Pro. Okay, cool. You might want to check out Descript too. That's another
Okay.
Premiere. Adobe kind of drives me a little nuts, just because it's not very user friendly. Descript we
Yeah.
use for all of our editing, everything from videos to audio to transcripts. I mean, it's pretty badass. So I'd recommend
Oh,
that one
cool.
too.
I'll have to check
It's a
that one out.
really, really terrific tool. So, and when you edit, so like Premiere Pro, you have to go in and break stuff up and cut and paste and all that um, in the script. You basically edit from the script itself, from the transcript. So if you're, adding
Oh,
something
cool.
into it, you just go to where the word is, and you just split it, pop in whatever you want to at that point, and it just kind of works off of the script. So
Oh, okay. Interesting. I'll have to
pretty,
check that out.
yeah, pretty cool. It's a good tool. So yeah, I mean, I used Premiere Pro for years, and then we shifted to Descript and have used it ever since. All right, last question for you. What is your definition of freedom?
Wow, freedom. This is one I struggle with because I thought it was being a business owner, but it's a different type
No.
of slavery, right? So, uh,
You built the most beautiful prison with the worst warden ever,
yeah,
because they go home with you every
yeah,
day.
yeah. And that's the illusion I want to paint: financial freedom, all this other BS.
Yeah,
My definition of freedom is heaven, man. I don't know, no
yeah.
worries, no concerns, and just being in eternal bliss. That's I don't think
Well,
we're going to see
hopefully
that
we'll get
until
you
we.
to that before you get to that point. So, yes, that's the
Yeah, no,
ultimate freedom, but hopefully you get there sooner than that. So,
I live a blessed life. My life is
yeah,
good. I have nothing to complain about. So,
yeah.
yeah, I guess that's the next step.
I love it. Love it. Well, Evan, if somebody is interested in learning a little bit more about BizRetire or any of the stuff that you're doing, where's the best place to find you on the internet?
Yeah, I have social media everywhere. I'm most active on LinkedIn, Facebook
Okay.
and X. But you can email me directly at connect@BizRetire as well.
Okay. Very cool. And it's BizRetire.com.
That's correct. Yep.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, Evan, thank you for being on the show. Really appreciate your honesty, and I really applaud what you're doing. Look forward to staying in contact with you on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you so much, Jeff.
You are welcome. Well, folks, thanks for joining us. Once again, please subscribe to the show wherever you're watching or listening to this, and we will see you guys back here the very next time.
All in